welcome everybody. Again, I mean, we're kind of just getting started here with the Data Career Summit, and we have an amazing panel here to talk about some different career paths. So I'm really excited to be able to moderate this one. And you know, I can always introduce people, but I also I kind of want you to hear less from me and more from all of these awesome people that we have joining the panel today. Also, I want you to get to know them because they're each awesome and just phenomenal people. So I'm going to turn it over to each one of them to introduce themselves. So Sonali, you're kind of up on my screen first. So could you take a few minutes and introduce yourself, please?
Of course. I was going to say I'll go last, but I'll go first. Hi, everyone. I'm Sonali. I currently work as a data analyst. I started my career actually working in customer service, so taking calls. I graduated with a degree in criminal justice, not knowing what I wanted to do. Probably took me about 3 years of trial and error networking to finally find the field that I was excited about and excited to grow my career in. And I've been in this field for about 3 years now, and I love it. And I'm looking forward to sharing any questions or any answers you would like to hear. And I'll pass the mic over to Sarah.
Sure. Thank you. Good morning. I'm Sarah. I'm originally from Toronto, Canada, currently residing in Los Angeles, California. My path into data is not a traditional one. I took communication studies in college, and then my first occupation after college was in advertising. And then I became a stay-at-home parent. And when it was time for me to contemplate my options to return to work, somebody that knows me well introduced me to Tableau, and I was very intrigued. And so I started learning the tool. I am a self-taught data visualization Tableau developer. I tapped into a lot of the free online resources and started networking through the Tableau user groups. And so I learned the tool, and I started building my Tableau public portfolio and took the Tableau certification. And that is how I got my start in data.
Awesome. I think it's me right now, right?
Yeah, over to you.
So Yamil Medina here. Super happy to be here. I mean, I always wanted to be in this Data Career Summit. I mean, I heard the word user group since I started here. I'm super excited about that. I mean, I love user groups. I am one of the oldest co-leader of the one of the user groups here in the United States, in the state of Florida. Been a user group leader for, I think, 11 years now. And one of the largest user group in the United States. I love everything about user group. You can call me the user group king. And, you know, everything that I have done, and we're going to talk a lot about this in this panel, about that networking, that the thing that you can do through user groups. I met Brandi, Dustin, all up through the user groups environment. And, you know, in addition to that, about, you know, when we talk about diversity, Hispanic, Latino, and my career actually started from Wall Street to data. I work in Morgan Stanley. I used to be as a financial advisor. I have a background in finance, and I transitioned to data because, you know, I love charts. I used to play with a lot of charts in Bloomberg when I was in Morgan Stanley, and it makes sense for me to be somebody that loves numbers and charts and things like that. And nowadays, I'm even a certified trainer for Tableau. As a Brandi, I am also Tableau ambassador. And right now I work as a consultant. And before, I used to work with companies like Comcast, NBC Universal. I live in Orlando, so it makes sense, right? I'm here with Disney World and Universal Studios. So I used to work with them for many years, and that's how I learned Tableau. And through the local user group, I love to be here, and I love to share my transition from Wall Street to Tableau to data analytics. Thank you for letting me be here.
Yeah, thank you all so much. Again, I think, you know, between the three of you, we have a lot of different types of experiences and career paths covered. So I think our audience will have just tons to learn from you all. So I have some kind of prepared questions, but definitely would love for the audience, people tuning in today, to also post questions in the chat. But Sarah, I want to start with you. So I love your career path. And when we first met, I stalked you a little bit on LinkedIn, and I absolutely love that you clearly call out your role as a stay-at-home parent.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of curious if you've gotten any like awesome positive feedback on that, that you might, I don't know, any sort of insights that you want to share with the group.
Yeah, thank you for that question. I actually haven't received any specific direct feedback regarding that, but I would love to share why I did that. I did it for a couple of reasons. I wanted to be able to explain my timeline, that several years had passed between advertising and my jump into data. But I'm very proud of those years. It was a time of personal growth for me. And excuse me, I was involved in a lot of community initiatives during that time. I led a lot of volunteer projects, and I really wanted to be able to speak to those during the interview process, because I was really able to hone a lot of skills that are very valuable. I use in the soft skills. So getting my tablet certification is the technical side, but then also, working on those soft skills as well. So, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Soft skills, I think, can sometimes be underrated when you have, tech or STEM related, careers. So love that you called that out. And I do think there's just a ton of transferable stuff that you do as a stay-at-home parent.
Absolutely.
I absolutely love that, that you showcase that.
Mm-hmm.
The next question I had was for Yamil. Yamil, I think you've talked about a little bit about your career progression, being in finance for a little bit. And then I know at one point you were a consultant, which is a very common kind of role in the data field. And I've always just been curious what it's like to be a consultant. Can you just share a little bit about that?
Yeah, of course. I mean, it's actually really very rewarding. I mean, because you work with so many different clients, so many different industries. And I think the number one thing for everybody that is watching is, I mean, I highly recommend you to become a consultant as quickly as you can, if you can do that, if you will like that, because I will never imagine that I could learn so much so fast. So, for example, I think it took me too much time to move to become a consultant. Like, I was always working in data for many, many years when I used to work with Comcast and NBC Universal. But then through COVID, I decided, hey, let me try this to be a consultant. So I've been a consultant only a few years. And I learned probably in this 4 years more than I learned probably in the last 15 years. And the reason is because when you're a consultant, nobody's going to bring to you, hey, create me this very simple dashboard. They're going to ask you to create something very complex. You're going to be involved in so many different discussions. You're going to see so many different industry clients, data. I used to work with a lot of survey data and a lot of sales data, right? And marketing data. But nowadays I am learning about CPGs, and I'm learning about companies like, for example, that work with complex transactions or like currencies and things like that. So you learn from so many other things that your skills grow super fast. Also, consultants have access to so many other applications, software, certifications, trainings. And if you're now, one of the first things that I would say to people, if you want to become a consultant, you need to be very adaptable. You need to be someone that is willing, to try everything, do everything. And also my soft skills, like what Sarah was mentioning, it improves so much, right? You're talking with so many people, networking. You will go and have access to go to like data career summits like this, or like even participate to, for example, going to conferences like the Tableau conference or Alter conferences. And your network's just going to expand. It's a lot of fun, but it's very rewarding. And I highly recommend everyone that is here. Like, if you can just do consulting for 5-10 years. I mean, try for a couple of years, see if you like it. It's worth it, 100%.
Awesome. I appreciate the insights.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm curious, Sonali, you have not been a consultant. You kind of worked in HR for a little bit, and you are in, I said like a newish kind of role, because I think you've been in your position for about a year now. I think there's probably a lot of people who are in a similar role or a similar position, maybe new in their data career. And I'm curious, as somebody who's gone through that recently, what is your advice for kind of new folks just getting started in the data field, looking to really break into the space?
Yeah, I will say it's been my current role, it's been about a year. Before that, I spent somewhat in the data analytics role, even though I didn't realize that's what I was doing. So a lot of times that might be the case for people who are trying to pivot into it. Learn the job, learn whatever career that you want to go into, figure out what's actually required to be in that role, and then figure out what's required to be successful in that role. Those are two different things, right? And once you learn whatever job that you want, network with a lot of people who are in that career, because that's the only way you're going to be able to solidify that you're on the right path. And I think Libby mentioned this too. Talk to people, figure out what they're doing, what tools they're using, how they approach specific business case problems, and implement that on your learning journey. Be patient with yourself. I spent a lot of time just being very hard on myself, saying, oh, I'm not on the right path. And like I mentioned, I graduated in 2017. It wasn't until 2020 I found a career that I was okay with. And then I'm like, oh, actually, I kind of like this. I can stay here for a bit. So be patient with yourself. It's okay. And one of the biggest lessons that I learned was if you're not sure about what you're doing, don't look at it, so you're going to stick with this decision for the rest of your life. See it as like, are you okay with this decision for the next year, for 2 years? If so, stick with it and see if you still like it. And it's okay to pivot. It's okay to change your mind. We're human beings. We're going to change our mind. So in terms of some things that people can do when they're trying to pivot, again, as I mentioned, learn the job, figure out what skills you currently have, because you do have transferable skills. Do market those, learn how to market those, because that's going to get you ahead. And figure out where the gaps lie. Find communities, find data communities to join and learn with people versus trying to do it by yourself. I think that was the biggest thing for me, and that's why I didn't quit early on, because I definitely wanted to. Like I said, network with the intention to build rapport versus, hey, get me hired somewhere. That I tried that. Trust me, I did try that. I have cold message people, hey, can you be a mentor? And that was before I knew what networking actually meant, right? So approach it with intention to build a rapport versus, again, get me hired. And one of the biggest things that I feel like worked for me when I talk about transferable skills, if you're currently employed, look for relevant projects so you have actual experience that you can advocate when you do interview for roles. If currently before pivoting or officially making the decision to pivot, I took on responsibilities that were close to what data analytics career required and used that to market myself in the career and pivot and grow further on and learn in public. I'm scared to share on LinkedIn too, but I still do it. Just hit the public button and then walk away from your computer.
Yeah. Well, and I love that, because that is also such a great way to kind of like find other people who are in a similar boat. Like, sometimes we're so, we only feel comfortable posting when we feel like we're the expert in something or we're really knowledgeable. Sometimes saying like, I don't really know how to solve this. Like, how do you solve this? You might be like answering questions for a lot of other people who are asking that same thing, but not comfortable posting. Yeah, I love that. And I think, one of the things that you mentioned was how, in your HR role, you were still working with data, but you kind of like didn't even realize it at the time. Data is all around us. And I think to your point, Sonali, right, you can find projects in your current position, hopefully, that at least start to get you some exposure to data and where you can get some of that experience. So I love that you called that out. I'm going to ask one more question. This is going to be for everybody, and then we'll turn it over to some of the questions that have come into the chat, because there are quite a few, and we won't be able to get to all of them, but we're going to try. So the next question I have for everyone. So a very common theme, I think, is like, look, Libby talked about all of the awesome free resources available through Alteryx. Yamil, you have talked a lot about user groups already, and there's Tableau user groups. Sarah, I know you did a lot of like some of the community projects available, in the data community and within the Tableau community. There's lots of things available to people, and it can sometimes be overwhelming. So how, I guess maybe that's the question, like how do people navigate all of these options? Like it's not going to be possible to do everything. So I think, Sonali, to your point, like you gotta be, you got to, how did you put it? But like give yourself like a break to some extent. Like, so I guess I'm just curious for each of you, what would your recommendation be to people who, have all of these resources available to them? How do they navigate the right path for them? And then, and kind of, prepare themselves for an eventual, applying to jobs in the data space. So I think with that, let's maybe start with Yamil.
With me. So, I think that, that happened to me all the time. Like I am always in Tableau Public looking for stuff. And even when I am, since I am doing, teaching others how to learn some tools, I have to look for that because I want to provide that to students. And one of the things that I learned this year actually was that it is better if you find something that you have a passion for. For example, if there is some type of data that you will love to work with, let's say it's music. Let's say that you love music. When you're working in that project or with that data, then it's really not work or anything anymore. It's like having fun. It's like doing something that you love. It's not to create any stress on you. So try to find one of those community projects about something that you love, that is part of your passion. Maybe it's your hobby. Maybe something that I, for example, love cars. So I always try to do something with, data that works with cars, because I don't feel like I'm doing something that is taking time from me, because I'm just having fun. Just try to find something like that. Start there. Yeah.
I think that's great. That's absolutely wonderful and like so simple, right? Like, what do you like? And practice on that. It's you got to enjoy it. Especially if you're going to use potentially your free time to grow in that space. So love that. Sarah, what are your thoughts on this? I mean, you're the queen of like community resources, it feels like. So what's your take?
Yeah, I would love to highlight 4 community resources that have been pivotal to me. I'll talk quickly because I know we're tight on time, but the first one is Makeover Monday. It's great for entry level. It's Tableau and data visualization is a practice profession. And when I started doing that, I was able to start building up that Tableau public profile and share that with potential employers. The second one is Workout Wednesday, which is a little bit more challenging, but also a great resource to really learn the skill. The third one is Viz Collab, which is a program run by Nicole Klassen. And I signed up for that. And through that program, Nicole partners you with another collaborator. And that's how I built the Ted Lasso Viz that was awarded Viz of the Day. And that program is amazing because I learned a lot of skills from working with my collaborator. And it really stretched me. And again, it was a passion project, Ted Lasso, a great fun TV show. And so I really enjoyed working on that. And the fourth one I'd like to mention is Viz Office Hours, which is held once a week. And you can take any visualization in any stage of development to this group of data visualization professionals. And they will provide you with invaluable feedback. And I've taken a number of projects there. And it's really helped me take my data visualization skills from good to great. So those are 4 community projects that I would definitely say are my go-tos.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And I think those are wonderful resources. And obviously that's 4, a lot. Not too many, but just, I think my guess is you probably started with one, and then when you found like you had capacity, you could like maybe invest in time in some of these other things. You also have to maybe find what works for you. Maybe the collaboration thing is like absolutely your jam, or maybe you prefer, the format of the, I don't know, the Alteryx weekly challenges, or like whatever it is. kind of finding what works for you too. So, but I love those four. Those are awesome.
The weekly challenges are great because you really accumulate your skills over time, and it kind of keeps you on track, especially if you're a self-learner and trying to do this, on your own. Yeah.
Absolutely. Thanks, Sarah. Sonali, I'm curious what your take is on this.
Yeah, as I mentioned before when I was pivoting, I think one of the critical things for me was trying to focus on one thing versus trying to accomplish all these skills. And by accomplish, even trying to build a solid foundation, I was trying to learn SQL, Tableau, Power BI, and anything you can name, even Python. I'm like, this is not working. So I remember making the decision, just sticking with one skill at a time. I had learned Excel on the job, and now I was pivoting into learning SQL. So I dedicated all my time just trying to learn SQL and doing it when I had the capacity. Because instead of forcing it every single day, I just felt burnt out. And I think I made a post about it that I wanted to throw my laptop out the window. I'm glad I did not. And that's where, data communities came in handy. It's like collaborating with other people who may be struggling with same questions and thinking out loud the solution. That really helped me. And I'm going to name a few communities. One of the communities, Data in Motion, if y'all want to go join. They do a lot of weekly challenges on different skills, and Orgnostic, which is more focused on people analytics, which is what I'm interested in. So definitely go check it out. They have some free courses and paid courses. And another thing for SQL itself, I tried the 8-week Danny Ma SQL challenge, which was really great for me. And LinkedIn. I will continue to say LinkedIn, network, share what you learned, have people critique what you're learning and give you feedback on how you can get better.
That's very important.
I'm muted. Sorry. I was just going to say, Sonali, I absolutely love the LinkedIn thing because I think it elevates everything that you're doing. It holds you accountable, to some degree. And then you immediately get feedback, and it just it takes what you're doing, the self-learning that you're doing, and supercharges it. So I love that. We're almost at time, but don't worry. I think we are going to take a few questions. I know Libby's keynote, she took some questions and it went a little bit long. And the next session is my session anyway, so it's totally fine that we can cut into my time a little bit. But I'm thinking maybe if you guys are open to it, we'll do lightning round. So trying to keep the answers really succinct so we can get to as many questions as we can. The first question is from Marina. I'm going to bring it up here. So when you're trying to break into the field of data, did you focus on just one skill or a few different ones? And I think we already kind of heard from Sonali on this. She focused on one at a time. Sarah, what are your thoughts?
Same. I focused on one, Tableau.
Yeah, cool. Yamil, are you going to take a different approach here?
No. I think one makes more sense. And one of the things that I wanted to say is, about the data challenges or the things that we were talking about, you never know how you can help. And you can also always learn something. And let me give you a really quick example. I always wanted to do more in Makeover Monday, but I didn't have the time. So this year I took a different approach. I talked to Andy Kriebel and I say, Andy, I don't have time to do this with this data, but what about if I send you the data and I see at least how people visualize the data? So some of the challenges this year, I sent the data to him. And so I cooperated with him. And one of them, of course, was about cars. It was called the dog score. And I never thought that people will do something with that dog score, but it was amazing. And I sent him the data. So you can always go on a different way and you can still learn something. I share with him probably 5 or 6 weeks this year. And, you're always going to learn something and get involved. I think that's the key. Get involved with the community somehow. That's how you learn something. Yeah.
Sorry, I keep accidentally muting myself. Yamil, I think that's absolutely wonderful. I think finding the ways that you can, use the community to help you and work in the ways that work for you, I think is awesome. Okay, so another question from Laverne, where can someone find these user groups? So Yamil, I know you got an answer.
Yes, there's not only the Tableau user group. I mean, I encourage you to go to meetups. Just find meetups in your area. There are meetups for SQL, for Python, for Alteryx, for Tableau, for Power BI. You know, look for those meetups. Honestly, it doesn't have to be a Tableau user group. Any meetup, it will help you in your career. I mean, I guarantee it will help you. You're gonna network. You're gonna find people there that maybe have the success that you're looking or the career that you're looking for. Just ask them, talk to them. It's going to help you. Just search online, Tableau user group, for example, or Alteryx user group, and you will find it. It's just right there and online. You will find it super quick, and you sign up. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see if we can do a few more questions here. Ooh, this is a good one. Tali writes, did you ever experience lack of motivation, and what helped you push you out of that funk? Sonali, I'm going to put you on the spot because you've talked a little bit about it already. What tips do you have for this person?
Okay. I think one is taking a step back. If you're feeling, a lot of times I know I felt lack of motivation was because other things were taking priority. And I'm going to be very blunt. Career is never my first priority. It's always my health, my family, and then everything else. And that would be career. For me, lack of motivation usually came because something else was going on. Either I wasn't feeling well or something, in my family, someone wasn't doing well. So acknowledge that, and it's okay to take a step back. And I may be coming from a place of privilege where I could take a step back. But I think if you're not here, your career is not going to mean anything. So your health should always come first. And I think that's where the lack of motivation also can come from. And apart from that, it's like knowing why you're doing what you're doing. If you're trying to pivot into a career, if you're trying to learn a new skill, know why you're doing it. It's probably because you're not happy with your current role, or you want to grow a little bit more, or you want to, execute the lifestyle that you have in your mind, and you need to work harder than what you're doing right now. And that's not to say you're not working hard. I have to, battle these thoughts consistently too, telling myself that I'm never doing enough, even though I'm dedicating a lot of time. So you may be doing a lot and just are being hard on yourself. So recognize the difference.
Yeah.
And I think that's where also focusing on one skill at a time helps. Stop trying to burn out, because that's what you're doing. If you're doing a lot, then more than you can handle. Focus on one thing. And it's okay even if you don't get to spend 15 minutes every single day. As long as you are consistent with your progress, you're good. Stop trying to be perfect, because no one is. It looks like it, but we're not.
I would also like to add that when I was studying for my certification, I reached out into the community and formed a little study group. There was 3 of us virtually, and it really helped motivate me and keep me on track. We kept each other accountable, and we also learned the material together. And so that was really great. Anytime I felt like I was stuck or lacking a bit of motivation, I could always reach out to. And we could cheer each other on. So it's really important to build a network like that.
I think the same thing. I mean, I go with what Sarah said 100%. It's just, find a mentor that works sometimes, or just collaborate with somebody else in a team doing something, whatever it is that you like, or any project. It will always motivate you. That's, I think, is for me, that always worked when I feel like that way, where kind of like not being focused on what I'm supposed to be doing, working with others is always helps me. Always, that network. Yeah, that works.
It gives you such a fresh perspective, in my experience, at least. It can be like, we all have our own ways that our brains work and think about problems. And sometimes it's just helpful to get a different perspective on that. So, absolutely love all of your answers. And thank you all so much for taking your time to share your experiences with us, the community projects that have helped you, the way that you kind of manage your work, Sonali. I just absolutely love the idea of taking a step back. Sarah, all of those community projects that you talked about. Yamil, the user groups, obviously, called yourself the king of user groups. So, I'm going to start referring to you that way. But I very much appreciate all of your time today. And I know our audience found it incredibly valuable. So thank you all so much. And make sure you follow them on LinkedIn And I know that there have been lots of resources dropped in the chat as well that you can continue to keep in touch.